Good morning and welcome everyone for today's session on life after death and reincarnation as what we study in theosophical literature. We will be coming to that, but about 5 to 10 minutes I would like to spend some time which is related to something of yesterday. This I couldn't give you yesterday because we were overshooting the time. There is the verse 5 of chapter 6 in Bhagavad Gita which says Uddharet atmanam na atmanam vasadayet atmai hayatmano bandhuratmai vripuratmana. And the meaning is, let him raise the self by the self and not let the self become depressed. For verily is the self the friend of the self, and also the self is the self's enemy. Can we correlate it with what we studied yesterday? Read just this statement. Is it a paradoxical statement? What? How to go about it? Self, raise the self by the self. It is friend of the self and also the enemy of the self. So until unless we have the understanding of this constitution of the human being, the mind will be perplexed. And it is done intentionally to make the mind perplexed. Why? Because HPB says in Secret Doctrine that such are the traditional modes of teaching by provoking perplexity. Perplexity means the mind is not able to understand, so it will start working on it. And until and unless the mind works on something, it cannot invite the intuition to enlighten it. So that's why whether you read Light on the Path, Voice of the Silence, Bhagavad Gita, or any such, we have koans in Zen Buddhism, koans, which are called riddles, like one lines which make no sense to the concrete mind. But when they are dwelt upon, when they are contemplated upon, the whole meaning of it is revealed. And now, if we relate that to what we studied yesterday, so the self with capital S and the self with this complete small self. So let him raise the self by the self. And the self is also the friend and also the enemy. When is the self's friend? When the lower self is the obedient servant of the higher self. But when the lower self is completely under the influence of animalistic nature, then the higher self becomes its enemy, in the sense, not enemy that he wants to do harm, but to purify the flame. So the flame will burn, and when it burns, it pains. So in that sense, the purification has to take place, and once it is purified, then this become, friend, it becomes an obedient servant. And then the same applies to the higher level also. The same relative thing we can apply to monad and also the logos, which is complete capital self. Logos is also a monad, but it is very, 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 very advanced monad. We are also monads. We are in the path of evolution, what the logos has already treaded upon. So now, in that light, if we see this, I think this becomes very clear and obvious. So now coming to today's thing. What is death? Anybody? Recycle? Recycle cycle. Recyclable machine. Okay. Recycling machine. Okay. Oh yeah, why not? That's one observation. Anything about death? Any thoughts we have? Sorry? It changes. It's the change. Death is the change. Change in the state, yes.
Because every civilization, it becomes a graveyard, and the another civilization, it just springs from it.
Yes. Yes. It becomes, so it's a recycling plant. Yeah. And no, no. It is. I mean, that's how funny it is. But is that the understanding in the majority of humankind? What is the understanding about death in majority of humanity, even among us? We are studying this. We may think that we are beyond those effects that death brings, but that will only happen when we are at that moment of death, or when we lose someone whom we love. That is the time of the testing of our the depth of realization about death. And one of the questions you remember that I gave, 7 questions, the last question is, which central thought do you think would be in your mind or my mind at the time of death? So that has a very big significance in our future journey. But that thought will not come suddenly. That thought will be the outcome of how I have lived my life. If I have lived my life in a very materialistic way, there is 0.1% chance that at the time of death, suddenly I will become spiritual and I will become selfless, I will become compassionate. If all my life I have lived with selfishness, so there is a funny story that we keep hearing, that to dodge the agents of death, to take the person to hell, the person named his son or daughter on the name of Hari, which is Vishnu, right? So when the agents of death came to take him, this is a symbolical story, don't take it literally. So he called his son or daughter, son, Hari. Hari is the name of Vishnu. So the story says the agents of death heard, oh, this person is a very devoted person. He's calling Hari. So he's a very spiritual person. So let's not bring him to hell. Let's take him to the heaven. And that way, just by putting the name of your child and calling him at the last moment, we think we dodge all the karma that we have done during the life. So that is not possible. It's just a symbolical story. But sometimes it happens that at the moment of death or just before death, something drastically changes in some person's life. Like Angulimal, everyone has heard, Buddha's disciple, who became Buddha's disciple, but who was a murderer, who killed 99 people, and he was making a garland of fingers. So he will kill one person, cut the finger and put it in his garland. So somebody told him that he has to make a garland of 100 fingers, and then he will get some powers or something. So only one was left. Buddha knew that, so Buddha started walking as he normally used to do. But people told him that, oh, don't go that way, there is Angulimala and he will kill you, So of course Buddha didn't listen and he started walking. And then there was Angulimala and there was Buddha, both standing in front, and Buddha is walking, and Angulimala said, stop. Stop, and of course I'm going to come to kill you, whatever. Buddha said, I am stopped, but are you stopped? And suddenly this statement struck him, and along with Buddha's love and compassion, that he just suddenly completely kind of brainwashed. And the rest of the history says that he became the disciple, and he became the most compassionate disciple of Buddha. So that also happens, but that happens while we are alive. Once the death happens or transformation happens, nothing much can be done. So basically, as I think most of us just said here, it's a recycling plant, it's a change which changes one form to the another, but in majority of societies, it is one of the most misunderstood word. Even people don't like to talk about it, because it gives them a sense of fear or insecurity which we are trying to hide somewhere, that we don't want to talk about something which is not so beautiful, or not, or which is kind of in our thought is ugly. But it is not ugly, it is actually one of the most necessary things. And I checked in various dictionaries, they say the definition of death or meaning of death is the end of the life. Is it so?
Actually, Blavatsky once says that in the ocult point of view, the life begins when you die. That dead people are more alive than the live ones.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's what because we are only, since our approach is only till physical body, so for us, life means being in the physical body, and when the body dies, life ends. That is also the view of the modern science, because they do not believe in after death existence. And that is the science that has been told to us again and again. So in the school and everywhere. So only when we come to study of philosophies, scriptures which tell us in detail, then we come to know that. And there have been so many near-death experiences, or people coming back from death, or reincarnation, that have been organized by Dr. Ian Stevenson. If you guys get time, you can read his researches. He has done a lot about that. And then we begin to understand that no, there is some, death is not the end of life, because the body becomes even more alive after death. I mean, the dead body, if you see, we call it dead body, but it is actually more alive, means a lot of changes are happening. That, bacteria, small virus eating each other, cells eating each other, even they have measured that the hairs still keep growing even when the person is dead. I mean, so-called dead. So the body actually, this is what the HPV's statement, that body has become actually more alive. And death is happening at all times, actually, at micro level. So many chemical elements, microbes, bacteria, we are inhaling, our or viruses coming in our body, and our lymphocytes fighting them, and all those things are happening. Our cells are dying when we get diseased. So at micro level, this death is happening all the time. So again, a very interesting statement from a very wise person. To the well-organized mind, death is but the next great adventure. I mean, if we can have that mentality, that death is actually not something to be feared. I mean, we have lived our life here, and let's see what is in the next adventure, what is there to see and what all things to do. But that will only happen if we understand that we have after death existence. And life is not the opposite of death. What is the opposite of death? Birth is opposite of death, not life. Birth and death are actually the two phases of the cycle of life. Life is continuous, life is eternal. Sometimes it is when it is expressing in physical body, we call it birth. When it has left the physical body, we call it death. And then when it leaves the astral body, it is the second death. So it's not only the death means basically one phase of life, and birth also means one phase of cycle of life. And this cycle of life is not only for us, it is, as you can see, the sun also is making its orbit around the galaxy in that is called one solar year. The earth is moving around the sun in 1 year, our year that we know as a year. Cycles of seasons that come every year. Now they are changing due to global warming, because humans have messed up the environment. And then also 24-hour cycle of the earth rotating on its axis. So everything is a cycle even at that level, and the same also applies to our chain. I'm just sharing these things with you because each of these slides has a book about it. But I'm just sharing this so that when we go later from here and you come across these books, and so you know what to relate to, and you can read in detail about all these things. So our earth is this, and this was the moon. So these are the schemes of our solar system, and this is the central sun, not our solar system sun, around which all these schemes are there. And one of it is this. These are 7 rings. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So only at a time only one is active. So when this is here, the life goes on and on this. One complete cycle of life here is called one round, the word that I used yesterday. Then when 7 rounds have completed, this begins to destroy and this begins to form, and corresponding A, B, B, C, C, and it comes down a lower level, and then again here, and you see Earth is the lowest point of this whole cycle. So we are at the lowest point of the cycle of evolution, and from here again the life will go on in this, then the next cycle will happen on this, then next cycle. So moon is still remaining from the last chain, and that's why there is a lot of occult things which relates earth and moon. So when one chain cycle dies, the another it takes rebirth, and the cycle goes on, and the same thing is kind of explained in this successive incarnations. Why is this? Okay. Thank you. The same chain goes down and down and then up and up. So that cycle is going on everywhere, as above, so below. Now in this, what is the cycle of birth and death? So this is the cycle I have drawn, and in this you can see that cycle, the birth take place in the physical body, and then at death the physical body is left traveling through astral plane, lower mental and part of higher mental, and then coming back. Now with this, can we make a conclusion that what part of human is immortal relatively and what part is transient, temporary, which is part which is not affected by reincarnation, death and birth every time, and the part which keeps getting affected by birth and death every time.
What is higher there from the circle? What is higher from the circle?
Higher from the circle is this.
Yeah, this is not affected.
Huh?
So this is not affected.
This is not affected. So that is the Atma, Buddhi, higher manas, which is our individuality or higher ego as we call it. So that's why in key to Theosophy, if we see the Atma, Buddhi, Manas, because after death they both become one, it is called the upper imperishable triad. Imperishable means it is not affected. Later on what happens, currently we are talking about normal life and birth and death. So in normal birth and death, this upper Atma, Buddhi and Manas, specifically higher Manas, which is dual in nature, they remain intact. Yes?
Is it the same for everybody, or do we all have a different spark of, like, or is it the same in me and you? Do you know what I mean?
This part?
Yeah.
This part?
Yeah.
This part?
Yeah.
No, it is different in everybody. But yesterday what I mentioned, the principle of Atma, although we study in Theosophy, as I said, HPB has said that although we count it as individual's principle, but actually it is universal principle. But to avoid any confusion, for the confusion, I told you one word, auric egg. So instead of Atma, actually it is the auric egg, which is the seventh principle, but let us not go into that because we will get confused. But these permanent atoms are, everybody is different. Yeah. These permanent atoms is for each different. Every individual, they are different. But Atma, it's because at Atmic level, this atom has the capacity to be at the same time individual and also universal. I mean, we cannot imagine, but that's how it is explained, that it is vibrating like it can become form with form and then expand to infinity also. So but still it is an atom. So it is a ray. How to call it? Like, if this is the one source and we put some, or let's say there is some veil of matter and we are getting 5 different rays. So from looking from here, there will be different rays. So we are studying right now with our lower mind or little bit of higher mind. So we are thinking all these things that Atmic atom is different. But the moment we raise our consciousness and we see the root of it, it will become one. So all these adepts, although they keep their atom, but at this level, there is no difference in them. They are literally one. But since they have to have their personalities, so we call them, this is Master so-and-so, this is Master so-and-so, with their physical appearances. But physical appearance does not mean anything to them. They are actually this, which is one in essence. So this aspect of ours, this is different for everyone. Because this is the causal body, experiences of everyone will be different along the lives. So it will be stored, so it will be different. This is the Buddhic atom, and again this is the Atmic atom. So this is the upper imperishable triad, and this is the lower physical body, prana, etheric double, and astral body. One more thing, HPB used the word Linga Sharira for the astral body, and also she used the word astral body for the astral body. So there was a lot of confusion, which later there was a consensus that Linga Sharira is to be used for the etheric double, the pranic body that we have, and astral body to be used for the astral body. So that was the Buddhic and Atmic can be different. Okay, because you know why? Because each of the monad is also different. We yesterday talked about 7 human temperaments, right? 7 human temperaments or 7 rays we have studied. Why are those 7 rays? What is the difference? All of them are at Atmic level, but still there is a difference. And what is the difference? Because all 7 of them come from a different planetary logos. Like there is solar logos. Then I showed you one slide there where it was like coming to 7. 1, 3 and 7 planetary logoi, and it was going in the permanent atom, the 7 coils. So those 7 will have, so monad itself is a classification, and when it sends its down rays, it itself will have its own uniqueness, and that is the beauty of it, that there is universality, but also there is uniqueness. We cannot say that this adept is better than this adept. They all are at the same level, but they all have their uniqueness also. Different wavelengths or frequencies. It's like first among the equals. Is that a statement? First among the equals. I mean, all are equal, but if you are counting from here, this one will become first, second, third. But if you count from there, that one will become first. If you count from the center, but all are equal. But also they have their uniqueness. So that is why also, even if we go higher, the logos, there is first, second and third logos. All are part of Trinity, but all have their specific uniqueness of work. One makes the matter, another makes the forms, and then third one makes the human being, individualization. So that is the unity and also uniqueness in each one of us. That is why no two individuals also are same. I mean, even the fingerprints of any two human beings in the world are same. Even the leaves of one tree are not the same. Now this is a question that came up in my mind this morning. Happening as per the law of nature, but why did nature make such a law of cycle? Why not just once?
Cycle round. The round thing is the most perfect diagram. The round thing.
Circle is a more.
Circummost is the most perfect.
But
creation.
It's easier to add every round a little bit more, so you have something that you know and you add, so it's not all the time a new thing. So, yeah.
I think, yeah, all of anyone, somebody was saying more. Yes.
Actually, what I think is like, from a subjective point of view, it feels like a circle. But then when we actually look from the side, we are actually growing. It's actually sinusoidal wave.
Yeah.
But then when we're looking from here, it's actually circles.
It's like a helical thing.
Yes.
It's not like in one plane just we are going round and round in circles. All of you have said more or less the same thing. Who wants to be immortal here? Who wants to be immortal? Like what the scientists are trying, no? They are doing some experiments so the person can live to 200, 300 and okay, let's say immortal. Who wants to be immortal?
Nobody. We are already immortal.
Not immortal, but
Triple our life? Okay. Let's say, suppose. No, that's perfectly all right. Okay, let's say 300 years. Would you like to live 300 years with carrying the same, so much of memory, continuous memory, good and whatever, or you need a fresh start every 100 years with blank slate which you can do anything you want?
50 years.
Huh? Okay. Selective erasure, okay, that is not applicable. That you can only, remember pleasures and forget the pain. No, that is what. So you see, even what the scientists are working are elongating the body's life. But what about the quality of life? I mean, a person who is not having a good life, let's say very depressive or unhappy or struggleful, frustrating life, the person needs a fresh start. Like suppose you choose a father, mother, wife, sister, brother, and you carry on with them for 300 years. Or after 100 years, you get a new set of parents, brothers, sisters. Because suppose you make an enemy in this 300 years, or several enemies or friends also, then that enmity, the feeling of enmity will carry on. But what death does, it puts a stop to it. That's what we are doing. The adepts, they are, someone is 500 years, someone is 300 years, someone is 1000 years, and in this body. And actually, I told you that event, no, when somebody asked HPB that have your masters found elixir of immortality, she says no. What they have said, that they know the laws of nature, and all of us come here with a certain amount of battery charge, which is said the number of breaths or something. Every time we become angry or jealous, or we become like, impulsive or very emotional or something, you see our breath speed increases, right? When we are more angry, the breath will be very fast. And when you are in meditation, your breath may be even 4 or 5 per minute. But when you are angry, it may be 20, 30 per minute. So every time these impulses we are having, we are actually losing life. And that's how the eating habits, because what the body needs and what the tongue desires, we are not able to sometimes balance it, so we keep getting so many diseases. We were discussing after 60, I mean, majority of people get some kind of disease, so there is something wrong in the system. So what death does is puts a stop to our continuity of consciousness. So, because suppose a person is going downhill, then for 300 years she will go downhill. Poor chap. I mean, there is no speed breaker or something for him or her to recover. So when death happens and after death things happen, then the new birth is taken. So at least there is an opportunity or option of a fresh start. Like suppose I bought a car in 1940s. Right? Yeah. So I used that car from 1940 for 10 years, 20 years. Okay, after 20 years, the engine, the material, the maintenance will go very high, and then it will, after 30 years, 40 years, it will become an antique piece. And they have some races also. What will happen after 60, 70 years? Will the efficiency of the car, the engine, the material will remain the same? No. So that's why the recycling has to take place. That form is dissolved, not the consciousness, not the life, and that consciousness takes a new body, so new car or new iPhone or new mobile or whatever we want to take the example of, or the new body. So that's why maybe, as all of us said, that in every cycle we are learning and growing. If we go in a straight line and if you have taken a direction, there is very few less chances of turning here and there, because then we will go in the same direction, because the consciousness is continuous. We will never forget who was our enemy, who was our friend, what karma we have to pay and not. So what happens in this cycle, if this is like 12,000 years, so the time we spend in physical body is only this much, which is 1/17th of the time of the whole existence. Like this is first birth, second birth, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, 10 births, each of 100 years. No, 1200, 120 years. So that's too much, I think, right?
No.
Huh? No, sorry. This is 10 births. 10 births of the person, and out of one birth, the time that we spend in the physical body is this, and away from the physical body is this, and total this is 1,200 years. So out of 1,200 years, we spend, let's say, 100 years in physical body. Rest of the 1,100 years we spend outside the physical body in other planes. So if we take the whole cycle, 10 cycles, out of 12,000 years, we spend only 700 years in the physical form, rest beyond the physical form. So imagine when we talked about 770 births that we normally take from the individualization to become enlightened, so how much time it is. I mean, in almost 100,000 years, even more. Okay, the same thing again, as Francis also said, that we yesterday talked that 3 kinds of evolutions are going on: material, biological, and spiritual. So biological evolution is taken care of by heredity, right? Which is subject to physical laws, form building and material and biological. But what about the spiritual evolution? That is taken care of by the reincarnation. And that's how we grow after every cycle. That there is birth, we live in the physical body, death, then we are beyond the physical body and we take birth, and that's how we grow. Because in physical body we get from the parents whatever based on the chromosomes, we get the heredity from the parents, and then we start our life, but there is no option of the moral and spiritual experience. Parents cannot convey the moral and spiritual experiences to their children, because there are many examples that the parents may not be spiritual but the child is very spiritual, or the parents are very spiritual but the child is not spiritual or moral. So for that is basically the reincarnation system in the nature, that when the person takes birth here, heredity improves the body, and then when the person dies, the qualities of the soul are transferred via the causal body to the next birth. And again the person learns and then grows, and this cycle goes on repeating until this happens. From the primitive stage, which is like a bird, and then slowly the individual grows, the consciousness grows, the body grows, then sometime in civilized state, and then in advanced stage, and then the full blossoming of the spirituality in the person, what we normally call as superhuman. So through many incarnations the soul unfolds like a flower. Now to get a more step-by-step process, we'll keep this image as our base, and then we'll try to study it. Maybe all of you can spend 1 minute to just observe it, different aspects of it, and then we will go ahead with this. So I think based on what we studied yesterday, it is more or less should be clear. This image. So we can end the session? No? Okay. Okay, so let us go through this. So first, as you can see here, this is a stage where the person is so-called alive. So here is the physical body in solid, liquid, gas of the physical plane, and the remaining 4 planes, subplanes, there is the etheric body. The images of this we saw yesterday, the violet grayish kind of body. And then we come to astral plane. So this is the astral body, our astral body. And then mental, lower mental plane. So this is our lower mental body. And then the causal body. And then Atma and Buddhik, of course, I've just shown to be the point, because they are not in that form. So this is Atma, Buddhi, and then these are all the principles that a person who is alive is carrying. Now what happens when the person is said to be died? So the first principle, or the carrier of principle that gives us the sense of death, is the physical body. So the modern science says that, see, all the physical and chemical constituents of a body of animal, human, plant are the same, and physical body is just the aggregations of atoms temporarily who have come together by a mysterious force called life principles. Because if we were only the combination of atoms, then the scientists should, when they make the organs and they bring them together, the person should be alive, no? The person should start working like Frankenstein, right? But I have not heard that happen except in the movies. So it means even they accept that there is something more to us than just the union of organs or different atoms or molecules. What is that? What occult science says, not just the chemical but small insensible lives from the same lives make the bodies of mountains, daisies, ant and elephant, as we discussed, the ultimate physical atom. They make everything, whether minerals, plants, animals, humans, or animate or inanimate objects, anything. But these lives are the vehicles of vitality which forms molecule, but they are also controlled by the still subtler fiery lives which is called prana, while the organism is alive. So while a person is alive, the prana principle, that's why is very important, it's called vitality, life principle. It is like the kind of a ruler or the teacher or the headmaster or head principal, that just the presence of prana makes all the molecules or the atoms do their work as they are supposed to do. Like the molecules or the tissues in the heart will do their respective work. The tissues in liver or kidneys, they will do their respective work. But once these fiery lives leave the body, that is when the person is supposed to be dead, all these cells in the body, they just become, liberated. Now it's complete riot and they do whatever they want. And they eat each other, they fight each other, and that's why at that time in a dead body you see there are so many what we call decomposition. Decomposition is nothing but the outcome of all this infighting, which is the sign of being alive. And the dead body is more alive in that sense when HPB said. Although it is called a dead body, but it is never more alive than at this stage. It may even have died in totality as an organism, but very well alive as units. But how it happens, that's the important thing. The process, as explained, all the bodies that we studied yesterday, you can read the book on each of the bodies of A.E. Powell. There is a book on the etheric double, the astral body, the mental body, the causal body. So each body has a book to itself, so which will explain all the workings of that body. Here I am just sharing in very brief because we have limited time. So what happens is the prana is actually spread in all our body. It is called buddhic life web, which the physical reflections of which are the nerves, the neurosystem that is spread in all our body. So what happens at the time of death, that it is a withdrawal, like the prana is getting withdrawn, so it starts moving up and it draws itself together in the heart around the permanent atom that we studied yesterday. And then that permanent atom along with prana rises up to the third ventricle of the brain, here. And then once it is there, from and finally out of the body. So many of the times you see at the person's back, the back of the head, at the death, after the death, sometimes people have heard the sound of slight cracking, or there is a crack or something like that. So that crack that happens is basically the prana or the whole thing has left from there. I don't know if it happens in everyone, but in several occasions it has happened that people have observed. So this now physical body is now disconnected, not yet, because there is something that connects the physical body with the subtler body, that is called the silver cord. So silver cord is again this buddhic matter which connects the physical body with our pranic body and higher vehicles. So when we are sleeping and we are traveling in astral body, no matter where the astral body goes, this cord is connected all the time. And so the moment we wake up, this cord pulls back our subtle body and we become conscious. That's why it is said, if a person is sleeping deep, do not just wake him up like this, because suddenly when the subtle bodies enters the physical body, the heart, it may affect the heart, it may affect some organs in the body. So whenever you are waking a person who is sleeping, be very gentle and not sudden sound or noise or loud alarm that will make you, oh, what happened, because that can anything. Yeah, we used to wake up like this when in the college. Okay, yeah, no, but that's why that happens, and many people have passed away due to that. But we never. That's the occult reason behind that. It happens. So now this, at death, this silver cord breaks. Have you ever heard of people coming back from dead? Huh? No, not in movies, in reality. Yeah.
14 hours. 14 hours.
No, it will remain. But the coming back from the dead can only happen if the silver cord is not yet broken. Because the doctor may pronounce you dead, anybody dead, based on the pulse or based on the heartbeat. And they say, okay, put in the morgue. And when the person, after 1 day or 2 days, they go to take the body and they say suddenly the person is alive.
Even for 1 day they keep in cryogenics.
Yeah.
Because they also believe.
Yeah. No, maybe if nobody has claimed the body, so maybe relatives are for, or for whatever reason, if the body is there and people go to claim it and the person becomes alive, they say, oh, ghost. How come the person is becoming alive from dead? But that can only happen when this silver cord is not yet broken. And that's what happens also in near-death experiences. When people are drowning or they are almost dying, but they are not to die yet, but they experience all those things, what happens at the moment of death. And when they come back, I think 99% of the people, their approach towards life changes. Because whatever they see here and what they have seen in those moments is, they begin to really realize that there is something beyond this physical plane. So then that happens, this silver cord is broken, and then what happens next is the withdrawal of the etheric double. We come again here. So now this body is separated. Now the etheric double is getting separated from the physical body. So, and that is what is seen often by the sensitive people near the dead body sometimes, a violet mist, a form of the person which keeps attached itself near the body of the person who has just passed away, and with the silver cord, and this is snapped at the moment of death. And when the etheric double withdraws, prana ceases to circulate. That's when the decomposition starts. And when finally the double leaves the body, it does not go far away. Why? Because it has been with this body for so many years. So it has developed an attachment and it usually floats over it. And it is normally, this condition is known as wrath, which people see, which people call ghost or churchyard ghost, sometimes appears to people who are, sensitive, and it's like a cloud, dull, conscious and speechless. Unless disturbed by tumultuous distress or violent emotion, the state of consciousness is dreamy and peaceful. Now this is a very important moment in the life of the soul. Why? Because this is the moment when etheric double is just withdrawing, the whole of the person's past life passes swiftly in review before the ego. That is a very, very sacred moment it's written in Secret Doctrine in HPB also. Why? Because that is the moment which will decide the next life of that person. Because in that review, the whole of life passes by in front of the ego, and every forgotten nook and corner of the memory will come up. Why even the things that we have forgotten now will come up at that moment, picture by picture, event by event, and in these few seconds the ego lives over and again his whole life, seeing the success, failure, and hurts, friends, enemies, everything. And he perceives the predominant tendency of the whole, and the ruling thought of the life asserts itself, marking the region in which the chief part of the postmortem life will be spent. Out of those pictures, which becomes the most important, that is my last thought. What the question that, the seventh question that I shared with you, what do you think will be the last thought at the moment of leaving the body? If we have lived the life in a good way, of course, the positivity will be more, so we are more inclined to become attached to a good moment, happy moment, right? But if we have lived a kind of a life which is very selfish and thinking about oneself, ambitious, cruelty and materialism, then maybe some part or picture where somebody hurt us or betrayed us or something like that will become very prominent. So a feeling of hatred will come, and that will decide not only the after death state but also the next life bodies, because it is at this moment the etheric double mold for the next life is prepared. So whatever is the moment, the thought at this moment is very, very important, and that's why it is said that if a person is on a deathbed, do not cry or shout or all those things that people do. Because most likely, this thing will be happening, and if we do all these things, it will get disturbed. This whole review of the picture will get disturbed, and maybe instead of going in this direction, the ego's direction of journey will be in some other direction, which may be not beneficent. So at the moment, in such moments, it's always better to be silent around the person, sending good thoughts, whatever good thoughts you want, whether in chanting or just good feelings. Even if we have to talk, we just talk in a very low voice surrounding that person, because that is the very, very important step. Now we come to next. Etheric double is being dissociated with the body. The body is still there and it is hanging around the body. Now, and it becomes, okay. This stage is usually followed by a brief period of peaceful unconsciousness, because for some time people do not even realize that they have died. I mean, suddenly without the body, and they see, oh, now nobody can see me, and it's kind of unconscious, semi-unconscious, and some people can shake themselves free from the etheric body and then they go on. For others, it may take some time. But when our other principles, Atma, Buddhi, higher manas, lower manas, astral body has shaken it and gone above, the etheric body, the shell of the etheric body is still there, which is just, hanging around. These higher principles have gone, so this is still hanging around the physical body. But one of the great advantages of the cremation is that by destroying the dense body, the etheric body also loses its attachment and so rapidly disintegrates. Because it is all the time, hovering around the physical body. So for the longer the time we keep the physical body as it is, the attachment will continue. And the sooner we, end it, that attachment will end, and also at the same time, very quickly, the etheric double also will disintegrate. But why is this important? to disintegrate the etheric double. Because otherwise, what happens if a person is so misguided as to wish, the person is so passionate about physical life, very much he doesn't want to die. He wants to still experience the worldly pleasures and sensual pleasures. Although this body is died, but still there is so much strong lower manas and astral karma that he wants to go back to body. So cremation entirely prevents any attempt at partial or unnatural temporary union of the principle. So it has to go in that direction, not as per the evolution, and not to come back in an unnatural situation. Also, this is something we think sometimes, so these kind of things don't exist, but they exist. Fortunately rare in the Western countries at least, that which make use of the decaying physical body, the etheric body, may also be similarly used in a variety of ways. So all these possibilities are avoided by the practice of cremation, because it is quite impossible for a dead person to feel the effects of fire, and as long as it is death, as long as it is death, I mean the silver cord is complete, because suppose the person is died, we think died, and that is not the case, then if you burn, then of course I think the person will realize. And there have been cases that people have jumped off the pyre from the wood, and they were burnt, and they have come back, and again people said ghosts. Yeah.
Saint, for example, they sanctify and mortify the person.
No, see, the cases of saints is different. Saints' cases is different because saints have no attachment to any of the bodies, or they do not have a desire to have physical pleasures or something. Yes, that is.
In that case, what happens to the etherical body?
Of the?
In that case, what happens to the etherical body?
No, they have no attachment to their bodies. So whether you mummify them, they just left the body. They don't even care. Their etheric double just disintegrates. They have no attachment left to their bodies. They, even for the astral plane, they just pass by, because there is no more desire left in them. So there is no point for them to learn anything in the astral plane. Also, they do not go to Devachan, because there is no Devachan for an adept. Because Devachan is also an illusion. Because an adept has lost all the sense of selfishness or desire or personality. So all these things happen because we have this sense of personality, that I am this. I am doing good work, so I will get the reward in Devachan. Devachan is actually an illusion, but a very good illusion, master, and it's needed. It's like the night rest between the 2 days. It is the rest between the two births, where the soul grows, learns, spends time, and all the good deeds done here are rewarded. So then it comes back. For adept, there is no Devachan, there is no hell, there is no heaven. The adept will just drop the body and start working in astral plane or mental plane. So for them, there is not even sleep. Only the physical body sleeps. So that is why you see, even like say people go to Aurobindo ashram, or we have, maybe that is why Colonel Olcott, HPB, they all chose cremation. Annie Besant, Leadbeater, to cremate the body, and then their ashes were put in Adyar, of course, and to some different places where they wanted. So in that sense, cremation, HPB has said, is better. So there is no more attachment left to the physical body, so the soul goes on further journey and not try to come back. Neither there is a possibility of someone else who knows these sciences but can misuse them. So that possibility is also ended. It's okay? Okay. So just a quick look on the physical plane. Now we are leaving physical plane. We will be going to the astral plane. So the etheric double remains about till 36 hours after the destruction of physical body, often seen by sensitive people, and like in our house sometimes, like we hear yesterday from Yuna, no? She was walking in the sleep, I didn't know, but she has often told us that she sees an image, okay, in the house or around the house or somewhere, but no, there is nothing. You see, that is the reaction of us, that we suddenly, oh, it's a ghost. The astral plane is right now, right here. This place is full of astral entities. Parallel universe. Only thing is, we are not able to see them. And that is a protection also for us. Imagine the sixth sense, no? The movie Sixth Sense. So it is actually a protection for us, that until and unless we are mature enough, I bet even if God manifests here immediately, we would run for our life. You know, like, oh my God. What happened? Because that's why all this preparation that we were talking about in sleep, in meditation, to get in touch with the subtler planes, prepare us for all these things. And some people are born clairvoyant, so they see things more than the others. So for them it's a advantage also, and sometimes it's a disadvantage also. So yeah, sometimes she has told, and I think children normally they see, but over a period of time they lose that capacity because nobody believes them. No, but we tell her yes, that there is a possibility, why not? But the more we grow into adulthood, we get involved in our bodies, society, our desires and all those things. So these abstract things lose their sense on us. Now we come to astral plane. So this is gone, this is gone. Now we are in the astral plane. What is this? What is left of the physical body? The permanent atom. So not the whole physical body is destroyed, but all the vibrations of life. Earlier, maybe if we had told somebody 50 years ago, the person would be like, really? It's small atom has the experience of small life? Now we have pen drives, 300 GB, 500 GB, and you put in the computer, download the data, destroy the computer, put in the new computer, all that data is there. So a small pen drive carrying such a large of data, so nature is much more advanced than our mind. So this permanent atom can carry these experiences in the forms of vibrations of the life. So now we are in astral plane. Okay, quickly. So in astral plane, there is a very interesting thing that happens. You see, every plane has 7 subplanes. The lower, I'm using the term relatively, lower or higher. The lower the level, the coarser the material. The higher the level, finer the material, right? Less dense. More dense, less. So this is the coarsest material. The color coding is such, we can see that this is the finest material of the astral body. Now, over a period of so many years that we have lived, our astral body has developed its own intelligence, its own, like physical body has its own intelligence, no? Healing itself, and it tells when not to eat, what to do. So similarly, that also has developed its intelligence. Now when the moment of death comes, it thinks, oh, I am going to die. Just like physical body is now passed away, right? So it does a very highly advanced technological rearrangement. And what is this rearrangement can we say about? The finest matter is inside and the hardest matter is outside. So what will happen to this entity, this body then? Can we say that it has increased its lifespan in this plane? Because the harder the surface, like coconut, like softer part is inside, but the harder part is outside. So no matter if you throw it here, you do something, it will still remain intact, and after a lot of effort, you can clear the outer surface. Then will come the inner surface. So that's what it does to extend its life, at least in this, not going further. It does this rearrangement that the coarsest material is outside, and since all of us have all the kind of matter here in our astral body, sometimes we have very low desires, sometimes we have very high desires, sometimes we have neutral desires. So all kind of matter is in our astral body. Yesterday we saw in the colors and all of an average, developed, and everyone. So that's what happens. And here, that's why the astral life becomes happy for some but unhappy for others, according to the preparation they have made for it. But what follows, that is in Devachan, is perfect happiness. So this astral life is the astral plane, Kamaloka, Limbus, or Hades, or even sometimes called hell. Like hell fires are there, people will be cooked in oil and all those things. In every scriptures it is said. But it is not, it is very symbolical. But why it happens? According to the preparation a person has made for himself or herself. And this is what happens, the arrangement that I was talking about. But how does this help? I already explained you. How can it be stopped? How can we stop this rearrangement at the time of death for a swift movement from the astral plane and not stay in the astral plane for very long?
No rearrangement.
Sorry? No. Yeah, how? Because the astral body will apply its all power. But, yeah, we have still the higher power of our higher manas and atma and buddhi. But that will only happen if we are aware at that moment. Again, coming back to what is the last thought at the moment we are leaving the body. Will we remember all this study? That we have a study camp in Bhavali in which we studied about this at the moment of death? Maybe, maybe not, depends on us. So, first of all, the remembrance of it, that this is, I am aware, I am in control. And when I am saying I, it is our higher self, higher ego. And when it exerts its will, power, then that is one part. Another is type of matter. What if the way we live the life, we do not have this kind of matter in our astral body? We only have maybe the top 3 or either the finest or little bit less finer matter in our body. That will depend upon the life we have lived, upon the preparation that we have done while living. So nothing, as HPB said, nothing is a reward or nothing is a punishment. Everything is our self-created thing. And so if we have lived, there is a story in the life of Buddha that one person came and his father died, and he said, please do something that he goes to heaven. I mean, in those days, that's what the desire of the people was. So Buddha said, how? Okay. Then Buddha took him to bring a earthen pot, you know, the made of earth, in which people put water to make it cool. Matka, yeah. So then this person thought, oh, wow, Buddha will do something, so my father will go to heaven. So then he said, fill that pot with butter. And put some pebbles on it, like a handful of pebbles and also some butter, and cover it. He said, okay. He said, you know, something good going to happen. And then when he brought it, Buddha took him to the river. And then he said, put this pot in the river. Okay, he did. And then he said, break it. He said, okay. And then he broke it. So what happened? When he broke the pot, the pebbles just went down. Because pebbles, if you put a stone in water, it will go down. What happened to the butter? It will floating on top. So Buddha told him, now please do something that butter goes down and the pebbles come up. So he told Buddha, what are you talking? This is impossible. So in the same way, Buddha told him, I can do nothing about your father, whether he goes to hell or heaven. Whatever he has done during the life will accordingly decide his or her further journey. There is no miracle or some extraterrestrial God coming who will forgive everything, or say that, okay, you have gone so many times to church or temples or mosque, so I will forgive your actions. No, because every action has its consequence. Then there are different possibilities in astral plane. What we just talked here, like a person who is supposedly good person will have more of this matter in his astral body. So what will happen to him or her? A spiritually advanced person who has so purified that only the finest grade of matter is there. So he will move around the astral plane with freedom. There is no this coverage that has formed around him. And he goes on to whatever maybe his born according to the point he has reached in evolution. A less developed man, but one who has lived life pure and temperate, will wing a less rapid flight through Kamloka, but will dream peacefully. So an advanced person will pass through very quickly. A less advanced but a good person will have more time, but that time will be passed in relative peacefulness and happiness. But the person who is an average person, like we saw the bodies yesterday, colorless, he will be having no change. So he will remain his principal characteristics after his death. He will have no special suffering, no special happiness, spend the time in the astral plane based on his actions. But when it comes to a worse kind of person who has attracted all the coarser kind of matter and desires in the body, which can only be satisfied in the physical plane. So what will happen to such a person? Like, I want to eat something which I like very much, but I cannot because I do not have the physical body. Will it torture me? Will it can be compared to burning in the oil fires of the hell? So that is what is the effects are. That we see that fires of purgatory are no inapt symbols for the vibrations of such a torturing desire at this. So the more and more strong desires the person has, which can only be fulfilled in the physical body, when such a person goes to astral body plane after death, will feel immense torture, because now all the desires he has but cannot be fulfilled. So such people will try to find the mediums through which they can fulfill their desires. Like, they will remain, if somebody is an alcoholic, that person will hover around some places. The person that soul will keep hovering around the places where alcohol is served. And then if some person addicts comes, then instead of drinking 1 or 2, they will drink 4 and 5. Or the more quantity, and later he will realize, how come I ate so much, or how come I drank so much? I usually don't do that. It's because these invisible influences are surrounding him, giving the rise of having more and more and more, and they are trying to fulfill their own desires through the people who are living. But these are the cases of natural deaths. There are some special cases, like unnatural deaths cases, like accident, suicide or murder. In such cases, there is again slight difference. If the person, first of all, suicide has been termed the worst kind of sin or karma that an individual can do. And instead of getting free from the stress or strain for which the person is doing suicide, it increases multiple times after leaving the body. So basically, the person is not getting rid of those things due to which they are doing it, they are increasing it. And what happens in all such cases, if the destined time of death of a person is, let's say, 100 years, and the person does this act at the age of 40 years, so for the remaining 60 years, it will remain neither in the astral plane, it will remain at the border, and again it will go through that suffering, do that act again and again and again for the next 60 years. And then, yeah, all those terms are given in the scriptures of to various entities. So, and then when the time of real death comes, that is 60 years have completed and 100 years, then he or she, the entity will continue its journey. But during this time, suppose there is a medium, medium, people who call spirits and get the messages, and the what was called spiritism or spiritualism when Theosophical Society was founded to counter it. But what you are calling the spirits and getting wisdom from the spirits are not the spirits actually, because the spirits cannot come down. What you are getting are actually these kind of entities who are hovering around in the atmosphere in the astral plane, either the suicides or those who are murdered or accidents, or those who have intense desire for the physical plane. These kind of spirits are hovering around, and that's what they are getting attracted to you, and you think that some spirit has come who is giving us wisdom. So HPB and that's why so many people went against her, that because she tried to explain that what is the reality of it. So that's what happened to the suicide. But suicide also, sometimes the suicide is not for a good, that is not called suicide actually, that is sacrifice. If you give your life to save someone's life, that is actually this is sacrifice. So that is the highest level of sacrifice. So but still the same thing will happen if it happens at, let's say, 40 years of age and the 100 years for the life. For the next 60 years, that entity will sleep in bliss, like nirvana, for those 60 years. And then when the time is up, it will go on further its journey. And so when this happens to the people who are good and innocent, those who are living, they get no recollection of any such thing, and they go into a sleeping state until the time of natural death. But instead, if it happens to a person who has been sensual and selfish, he or it will suffer all kinds of tortures, nightmares, and drawn by the mediums who open up the possibilities for gratifying their desires, because they wanted to experience pleasures, but the body is not there for whatever reason. So they will get attracted to such peoples, the mediums, and incite living human beings to horrible crimes. I think many of us might have heard so many crimes like road rage, like just one person overtook the other person and he became so upset or angry or irritated, and they get out of the car and just kill the other person for just so much. And later on, when they think upon their actions, they realize, how could I do that? Same thing happens when you are in a mob. You see so many things, inhuman things happening when people are in the mob, right? Lynching or group of people killing one person or something. If they are individual, they would maybe never even think of it. But when they are in the mob, collective thought form, these kind of entities push them, and they do so much inhuman things. Invisible impetus is given from them. And majority of people, neither very good nor very bad, some sleep, some become elementals, and they are somewhere in between. So ultimately the crux of the matter is the kind of life we are living here will decide what kind of after post-mortem experience we are going to have. I think it is tea time. So we can stop and then we can continue after that. Yeah.